Obviously I haven't done the bases yet. I'll switch them over to the like Necromunda style bases after this. If you're interested in some better pictures, also a little more detailed, high definition, make sure you check out the Facebook page, as you can really get like the close-ups. But overall, I'm very happy with it. I would say honestly, like the tesseract glow essentially does the effect like perfectly. It worked great. I did just a slight little like painted on edge highlight over the iyanden yellow, but overall that just does all the work for you. Same with, I mean, really just the combination of the contrast paints, simple dry brushing, washing, and then some edge highlights has really yielded like an awesome completed set of guys. I'm really happy with how these guys came out. They definitely look awesome to me. Yeah, overall I would say they came out very nice though. Like the color combination, it definitely like stands out. The idea was to get like the energy effects and the flashlights and stuff to look like they were kind of glowing with the sharp contrast, which I was afraid was going to be a little difficult to do with the brightness of the yellow. And initially I really didn't like the yellow when I first saw it, because I'm like, man, why would these guys want yellow? Like, they're making themselves a target. But I get it that down there they're kind of the law, like nobody really messes with them, so they probably don't have to worry about it like that. But overall I think everything came out really nice. I love the models, are sweet, definitely cool. And slap them on a couple bases, and then we'll get some still shots and everything and get them on Facebook. But yeah, I mean, you guys watch the steps. It's very basic techniques, just a lot of them, just using the same techniques over and over. And you can stop whenever you want to. You don't have to keep going with that last little edge highlight. But a lot of times I find, like, if you do an initial color and then a wash, and then after the wash you do like 2 highlights versus 3, or 1 highlight versus 2, it makes like a huge difference to just spend that extra time, which is like very little, and just do a tiny bit extra on the guys. So, and this Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man. And if you liked the video today, make sure you give us a like, subscribe, and check out the still pictures on Facebook. A how to paint the black armor tutorial, but we're going to do it on the Palanite Enforcer gang right here. And so right now, what we're doing is I went ahead and just obviously sprayed them black, just with like a flat black. And this is some Dark Reaper. Then we're just going to take our model, and we want to basically start like at the top where it's going to be the brightest, like near his head, shoulders, backpack, like anything that's sticking out. And we want to just kind of like drag that dry brush down the model. It's okay if we're just looking to like basically get all the raised edges, to get like to get some of this paint on there. And we're going to start off slow, but once we get the brush just right, we can get a nice little flow going and do it in minimal steps. But essentially, like if the black was covering, let's say 100% of the model, or the armor at least, what we're looking to do right now is cover about like 75% of that. So we finish up with the Dark Reaper. Now we're about to come through with the Thunderhawk blue and just do the same thing. And if we said like the black was covering 100% of the model, the Dark Reaper was covering 75%, let's say the Thunderhawk is going to go 50%. So we're just going to focus once again on the top portion of the model, looking down. And what we're aiming to do is just get it like subtly brighter at the top of the model, and it just gets like subtly less bright towards the bottom. So as we wear the paint off of the brush through this process, we will slowly like move the brush towards the bottom of the model. When we're initially starting, we're going to focus just on the top. So next I'm going to use the Lothern blue. We're going to do like real light on this coat and stick towards the top again. And if it gets just a little bit chalky, it's okay too, because we are going to do that wash, which is going to clean it up a little bit. All right, decided I'm going to do a dark brown with the rhinox hide. I want it to be real dark so it doesn't stand out, and then I can just do like kind of like a sharp edge light highlight to brighten it up some. I'm just going to go through now and just do along all the armor panels. So you'll see we have like basically like the knee pads are the armor. So we want to go like all this cloth here. We want to get all that cloth. Go around like all the you know, the gauntlets are all armor. The shoulder pads are armor. But underneath here you can see it's like the sleeve. We'll go in the sleeve. We want to get all this, the belt, all these bits through here. Alright, got those all finished up with the rhinox hide. Now we're just going to do a little bit of leadbelcher. I just want to go in and take care of like the metallics. Nothing really too crazy going on right now. We basically just painted everything but the armor brown. So, but we just want to get like all the, you know, metal parts. Like we've got that little club weapon here. It's like the shock baton or whatever. And then you got to decide like how you want to do your guns. I'm gonna go ahead and do the metallics, and then I'll bring out some of the other stuff later on. And then also you have like the little like screen on their arms. You have to decide how you want to do that. I'm gonna do mine like glowing, and then there's like some bits on like the backpack in like the armor. I think we'll add a little bit of metallics in there. Alright, so we got the metallics all filled in. Now we're about to come in with our nuln oil wash. I'm just gonna go ahead and like lather this over top of everything. The armor, the cloth material, the metallics, the whole deal. And we're just gonna cover everything generously, let it soak down in the cracks. So we let that nuln oil dry for plenty of time, especially down in the cracks and everything. And now all we're gonna do is just take our thunderhawk blue again. But essentially what we're gonna do is just look for like the areas like this that are gonna be like most exposed to like the light, and in like a sort of like a zenithal way. And we just want to add like a slight highlight to those areas, and we'll just go through and kind of pick out like the areas that are typically on the top that would be getting hit with like the most light. And we're just going to add a little bit of our edge highlights in. Take that lothern blue one more time, and I'm going to do like a 50-50 mix with the thunderhawk, and I'm going to get it super watered down, and I'm basically just going to do like an edge highlight glaze just to bring out the arm. And then there may be a couple spots where I'll hit with like the pure mix, but essentially what I'm trying to do is just focus on a couple areas towards like the top of the model, and just get a little bit of like extra brightness, kind of bring the light towards his face primarily. And if we did like, you know, a smaller amount each time we went through, this one we're just going to do a little bit less of like an edge highlight. Alright, so there we go, all done layering those up. I took it all the way from the 50-50 blend to the just straight up celestra gray in some little like parts towards the face specifically, just to give like the highest level highlights. But that's our armor done, and then now we're just going to go through and do the same thing for the cloth. Alright, we are making some nice progress, and this team is really starting to take shape now. I went through and did the mournfang brown edge highlighting, and basically just watered it down real nice and just picked out some of the detail, and then went ahead and did a 50-50 blend of the mournfang brown and celestra gray, and just picked out a couple little small details as well, just to give it like one more little edge highlight on the brown as well. And now what we have left is a lot of like the smaller details, but for the most part the models are pretty nicely painted. So what we're going to do is all the parts that are going to be yellow, all the flesh tones, all the lights, anything that we want to like basically paint with like a bright color over instead of the black, we're going to go through and do with like a nice like basically like 1 or 2 coats of white. And this is actually the first set of these guys I'm painting up, so I'm kind of still experimenting with what I'm going to paint, which colors, but go through and paint all these yellow. So we'll get them white now. Important you take the time and get the consistency of the paint right, because we need it to get down in the cracks, but we don't want it to run like too much either. So alright, so there's the white all done, and we just try to get like a nice even clean coat. The next step we're gonna do is come in with the iyanden yellow contrast paint, and this thing has kind of like an orange look to it when it's in like the paint pot, but when you paint it over white, it gets like a really nice like yellow look to it. So we'll just go through here, and all we're gonna do is you want to kind of just start at the top and let it run down to the bottom. Let the gravity like wick it back off. Until you get like the amount that you want and the color that you want. And I try to like start it at the top and kind of drag it down, sort of like with gravity, and then that will kind of let the contrast paint do its thing. And if they start to get like a little bit of like a splotch or whatever, you can kind of move the pigment to where you want it more. But once it starts to dry, you don't want to keep messing with it. So we're just going to go through and do each portion, each panel that we did like that we want to be yellow. Now there's a couple of the panels that we did in white that are not going to end up being yellow. We did them for like a light effect, whether it's like the flashlights on the front of their chest plates, or like the one guy's actually holding a flashlight, or their eyes, the power weapon. And we do want to let that dry for a few minutes. Be very careful. Obviously you don't want to touch it while it's drying, because it'll mess up like the contrast effect. But you can see it gives you like a real simple way just to get like some cool shading and nice like bright like depth of color. And then we'll go back through and we can do like some actual like edge highlights and everything on that. But right now we're going to do our flesh real quick. So we've got the Guilliman flesh out here. It's another one of our contrast paints. Make sure you do shake these up really well, especially the first time you get them, or if you haven't used them for a while. So, and then same thing, we're just going to load our brush up. I'm not going to worry too much about the hair if I get on that. Alright, and here we've got that brand new technical tesseract glow, and we're going to use that for the greens. I like the effect this was giving off, and sometimes you can't tell exactly what you're going to get until it's completely dry. So these guys have really taken shape too. Big fan of how they're looking so far, and every little detail just takes them like one step closer and gives them like that extra little pop. But we'll see. Got to give it a shot, and then if it doesn't work, you can always go a different route. Now we're going to go ahead and just do a couple of little bits in the tallasar blue. This is like a super rich blue. If you put it over white, like on the power weapon like this, it'll give you like a really cool effect. I had considered a purple. I thought that might look kind of cool too. And I put just a little on the tip here too. Kind of give off the effect like it was glowing. and then also on the back part where it's like the plasma looking coils, which is cool because it essentially like lets you use the contrast paints in a lot more ways than most people probably realize or have used them. Starting with like essentially like a Dark Angels green or Caliban green or something like that, and we're just going to block out these plates on their arms, and then we're just going to slowly do kind of like a highlight in certain areas to make them basically look like illuminated, or like they could be illuminated. Should give like a cool effect. And now all we're going to do is just go in with our lighter color. We're just going to cover up part of the panel instead of all of it. We're just going to cover part of it. So if we have this guy's little panel right here, we just want to hit like maybe like 75% of the panel. And then in this case, what we want to do is we want to leave the darkest part up towards the top, and we want to start lightening it at the bottom, like contrary to what you would think, like the opposite effect of a typical highlight. And then we're just going to take that same bit that we have there and just kind of drag it over it. So I'm going to get just a little bit of macragge blue. That's just been drying for a minute there. I'm going to take that same green that I just used, and then I'm going to add just a little bit of yellow to it, and this is where like the blending comes in. So but all we're looking to do is just take the exact same spot that we already did, and we're just going to do a little less than we did last time. So we're not going to come quite as high up or as far over, and we're just looking to basically get a little bright green spot right there at the bottom, just a little brighter than what it was before. And over here, because we did it based on like the way the light would be reflecting, it's going to be opposite. This one's going to go at the top. And what we want to do now is a little something different. It's similar to what we just did, to make it look like this glass that you can kind of see through. So what we're going to do is the same thing. We want to focus towards the bottom right side, and we're just going to run it across there. And that's going to be primarily what just gives us a little bit of extra depth to the glass. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. But first we want to do just a tiny bit more on the bottom here. There we go. Tiny little bit of brightness right in there. And just one more kind of right in the middle of each of these. And all I'm going to do is just do just going to come back in with a little bit lighter of a color, the white, and just dab it right there. And that'll kind of give like a focus to like the power or the energy a little bit more. we're going to focus this just on the center of each one of these coils, and you can kind of wrap it around like 3D a little bit, but the goal is to just lighten up the center portion of each one of these just a little bit, and then we're going to do the same thing with the white and just kind of lighten it up. And now I'm coming back to that. It's the Lothern blue, and this is without being mixed at all. And all we're going to do is just do a couple like diagonal lines to kind of give like that glassy effect. And now look, we've been kind of shading it this way, so when we do these diagonal lines, we want to go the opposite way, so it's going to kind of contradict what we already did and make it stand out a little more. And see, we went this way before, so now we want to go the opposite way with these lines. Once again, just so it doesn't all get caught up into like the same kind of just looking all the same. There we go. Alright, we're just about finished. Everybody's starting to get like some real bright looking colors to them, and things are starting to really look like they're glowing, and definitely getting the effects we're looking for. What we want to do now is come through on those green panels that we did, and we're just going to do a third color. So we did the darkest, and then we did lighter green, and now this is just a combination of the green with a tiny bit of yellow and a little bit of white. And we're just going to use a tiny bit of it. And it's kind of funny too, because you can almost now compare it to the effect that you get from tesseract, and it's almost like the same effect. So it's basically like, you know, if they're comparable, you could do the same thing with tesseract with a lot less work. But that's what we're looking to do right there. And that's just going to give like that final kind of little bit of like a glass like look. We're just going to take one tiny little bit of that same color now, and we're going to, on these panels right here, on the absolute darkest part of the panel, we're just going to put one little dot up in the corner. And we're just going to take that, you can see it's almost white on my brush, we're just going to take a tiny little dot on each of these. There we go. And then we're going to use the same color, and we're just going to do that same thing again on the very bottom corner. There we go. And then just one little dot in the top left. There we go. Alright, well, I went through and just did a couple other little edge highlights on like the silver, and added a little black to the bolters. Nothing too crazy, just basic steps. But I think we're going to call it done there. Things came out real nice overall. I think there's a couple things maybe I would change if I did them again. But overall, I'm very happy with it. I would say, honestly, like the tesseract glow essentially does the effect like perfectly. It worked great. I did just a slight little like painted on edge highlight over the iyanden yellow, but overall that just does all the work for you. Same with, I mean, really just the combination of the contrast paints, simple dry brushing, washing, and then some edge highlights has really yielded like an awesome completed set of guys. I'm really happy with how these guys came out. They definitely look awesome to me, and excited to put them on the table. It definitely like stands out. The idea was to get like the energy effects and the flashlights and stuff to look like they were kind of glowing with the sharp contrast. But I think overall these guys are super cool. Definitely looking forward to smashing some skulls and shooting some energies. But yeah, I mean, you guys watch the steps. It's very basic techniques, just a lot of them. But yeah, these models are awesome. It came out really nice. Definitely like the paint scheme, like the by the box or box style paint scheme. Real cool. And I may add in like a little bit of extra details, maybe some decals on the little chest pieces or the knees, or some like the painted on little stripes. But I think I'm going to go ahead and call it there. They came out very nice. Definitely happy with them, and looking forward to playing some games. That's our how to paint the Palanite Enforcers and Subjugator Patrol. And this Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man. And if you liked the video today, make sure you give us a like, subscribe, and check out the still pictures on Facebook. Appreciate the support, guys. I'm out of here.